Ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to another chess video. Today I'd like to cover one of Daniel Naroditsky's best games. He was the late chess grandmaster. He streamed. He was a great chess teacher, a sensei to people. He taught many people many things, including myself. I've learned a lot of my opening repertoire from him, and it was painful to many people to lose him, and this video is to honor his legacy and spread to as many people as possible how great of a person and chess player he was. From his opponent, of course, here you can see Danya's playing black, and this is in 2014. His opponent starts off with e4. We see the move e5 from Danya, and now we get into a Roy Lopez here, one of the most theoretical and studied openings of all time. It has been studied actually to the end game in some variations, which just blows my mind. We see a6, the most common Morphy defense, then bishop a4, and now we play knight f6, all studied stuff. And then his opponent played castles, and this is saying you can take my pawn, but now it's an open game, and you may have grabbed my pawn, but I'm attacking this pawn, and now the most common move is knight to c5, and then we usually say bishop takes c6, then d takes c6 is most common, and now we are actually the one that can win the pawn, but we'll take it with the knight instead of the rook, just to centralize our piece. So this is all studied, as I've said, but he decides to keep it closed with bishop e7, and this is a major decision that black chooses in the Roy Lopez. We see d3, b5, kicking the bishop, bishop b3 retreating and targeting this weak f7 square. Now we play bishop d6. He played bishop d6, opening up the scope of this bishop to develop and control the center, of course. We see a3, and this move a3 is actually a prophylactic move, which means it's to neutralize Danya's threat. So it takes away this square, but also if Danya ever plays knight d4, the bishop will have the a2 square to retreat to. We see the move castles, defending this pawn, which was attacked. Then we see knight c3, controlling the center, followed by the move bishop to g4, pinning this knight to the queen, and somehow this is all theory on move 9. I would not have the patience to memorize this. And bishop g4 has a sneaky idea, because it's threatening to go knight to d4, attack this knight, threaten to double pawns, and threaten to take this bishop, which is of high quality on this diagonal, let's say. The opponent plays bishop e3, stopping knight to d4, but the Shanklin rule is that if your opponent tries to stop your plan, see if you can go through with your plan anyway, and Danya plays knight d4. Still going in, so now the bishop basically has to capture the knight, or it should, and then we see this move, pawn takes d4, knight d5, and what can happen here is if we take, this is a move. First of all, let's add a theory, but now, if pawn takes, we have whatever this is, and that's a mistake. Bishop would take, and this wouldn't be as good, because after our rook moves, they have a nice bishop here, and I don't think Danya wanted his opponent to have such activity. So, to take is a mistake, so he played the move knight d7, retreating. This knight still kind of controls the center, and it's a little bit. We see h3, and now we see bishop takes f3, which is a great move. it looks like why would you trade? But if you go here, this is bad. And the reason it's bad is because of g4. Now, where are you going to move your bishop? Of course, to g6. And now, knight takes d4. And we not only won a pawn, but look at this. Look at what utter domination black would have. This bishop that's ready to open up. You're going to play f4 and come and trap the bishop anyway. You could see the evaluation bar is in favor of white. So, with excellent vision, Danya decided to play bishop takes f3. Queen takes f3 was played by his opponent. And now the move c6, basically telling this knight, where are you going to go? Get out of my position. The knight goes back to f4, which is a nice square, but this is an inaccuracy. And the reason that this move is inaccurate is, first of all, you could have taken the bishop. And then you have a bishop that's open, but now they can go here, tempo your knight, and all that stuff. So, computer likes knight takes e7 better, but we see that it's equals. Now we see king h8. And at first this move kind of puzzled me, right? But now I realize it's more of a prophylactic move because this f-pawn was being pinned to the king and now it's no longer pinned and it can move freely. So, king h8 and just trying to be able to have as much mobility in the position. We see g3 from the opponent, and now maybe an idea is to target this pawn, and I believe that Danya decides to try and remove a defender of this pawn by going bishop g5, and this is targeting the knight. This is a good move, because after we see knight e2, this pawn has no defenders and therefore is hanging. So, after bishop f6, this pawn is a little weak. You can push it, but for now on, it's a target. And now, after bishop f6, simply defending our pawn, we see queen g2. And now, Danya decided to play c5. And this stuff is so high level, I'm struggling a little bit to understand. It's out of my pay grade. But I think the idea of c5 is just to try and make the bishop a little worse. Maybe rook c8 here and takes. And then the bishop gets a less good diagonal. After knight f4, we see the move rook c8. Oh, see, I was correct. And then knight d5 and c4. Exactly. Oh my gosh, call me Grandmaster. But bishop a2, knight b6, defending our pawn, solidifying this blunt of the bishop, because if takes, this pawn is solidified and it blunts the bishop from there on out. And then you can see we have worse better. So we play knight b6, and to take is a mistake. So they decide to take our knight instead of our pawn. Then queen takes b6, and now f4, pushing our f-pawn. And I think Danya's opponent is just trying to use his pawns to come push down and swarm him. On the king side, maybe start some attack with the queen and rook. Double up and try to make things look scary. But Danya, being one of the best players in the world, decides to shift his queen over, controlling some of these squares, coming to the defense. Now rook a e1, and computer gives this an inaccuracy, but I think the opponent's just trying to go here, attack the bishop, and remove one of the king's key defenders. Totally natural stuff. Then we see g5. At first glance, this is kind of a daring move. Like, pushing pawns has always, from the most trivial lessons you've been told to not push pawns in front of your castled king, but when you're a grandmaster, you can break the rules. And we see fg5, which is an inaccuracy. Boy, I will never get the computer. Then queen g5, and it looks as opening the g file is going to help us target this pawn. So that might be a little unpleasant. So rook f5, target the queen. Queen drops back to h6, spying this pawn, and the queen has a nice diagonal here. King h2, and this move is an inaccuracy. I think it's bad, because why would you want to put your king opposite of your opponent's queen? That can be a little dangerous, and there can be some sort of exploitation. So you can go here and flex on your opponent. Tell them they can't take. What are you going to do about it? Savage move, but we see bishop e5. And now we see a double pin situation. Kind of funny. Not funny, but I mean, these two pawns are both pinned to the king, so that can lead to some various tactical motifs. We see queen e2, and this is a mistake. Just look at how it shoots up for Danya's position. And I think it's just the reason that it's a mistake is it leaves the defense of this pawn, and now we are going to swarm the king, bring in all our pieces, double up, and have some attacking chances. And now black's winning. Of course, he spots that, rook g8, and now we are going to just target this pawn and target the king from there on. And now we have to, then they sack the exchange, which is the best in the position, and it was the only way to save this pawn. And now we're winning in another way, and that's on material. So we see dc4, queen e6, shifting over, targeting the pawn, keeping an eye on this h3 square, and now we see b3, takes, and rook g6. And this is looking to double the rooks here. And come in, swarm your king, and checkmate you. Because it gets all of a sudden very dangerous. Like, that would be checkmate. So, you don't want that to happen to you. You play rook f1. I mean, your opponent, Danya's opponent, played rook f1. And then trying to create some counterplay on f7. And now we see rook cg8. Continuing to pursue this pawn. We see rook f3. Keeping an eye here and here. But you can't do two things at once. We see rook g5. And this move is a mistake, definitely, but I simply don't understand the point of rook g5. Maybe a waiting move. I don't know. I think it was to clear this square for the queen and try and come in here. But we see bishop e3. And, Danya still, it's +1. It's still very good for him. He still has a big advantage. And now there's another mistake. You form the triple stack, or better known as Alekhines gun. But it's a mistake because, well, queen e1 is a counter mistake, but counter mistake. Use queen f2. The pawn's safe. Or not queen g2. Not queen g2, I meant queen f2. Queen g2 is an egregious blunder. Don't play queen g2. But we see the move queen e1, which is a counter mistake. It's a mistake to a mistake. So we see f5, exploding the position. We're going to trade and take, and we're still going to keep pressuring these squares here. e5, rook f5, rook f5, queen f5. And we have the pressure, c5 though. And maybe in Danya's head he was saying, oh, he has counterplay of his own with this passed pawn. But at the Grandmaster level, Danya will be able to defend this pawn. And it's not as scary as it seems. Rook f8. And the threat of rook f8 is check, takes, and then takes. And then after, like, let me show you. So, random move, then check, we force the trade, and now what we can do is, first of all, I just like coming back. Oh shoot, it's a mistake. Didn't mean to expose myself like that, guys. But here is the best, actually. and you're pressuring, and you're just gonna win your opponent's pawns, defend against this pawn, and you're gonna win the game. So that was the threat of Danya. But we don't see the move a4. We see the move c6. It's pressuring. I mean, what are you going to do about this? His opponent says, I have counterplayed my own, but we see e4, and Danya wins the game. And I think it's almost poetic that on his opponent's first move, Mr. Suarez played e4, but on his last move, he played e4, which is pretty cool. And the reason his opponent resigned is now we got some pawns of our own and we're coming to push and make queens. And there was simply no way for his opponent to defend this, and it would just be fighting a losing battle. But this was one of Danya's best games, and as I said before, it was really hard for many people to lose him because of what an amazing individual he was. And I hope and pray that his legacy goes on to those who look up to him. And my thoughts and prayers go out to his family, friends, and fans who grieve his death. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed this video, and peace out.